Hey there everybody, Joe here. Thanks for tuning in again. So I noticed on my last video last week, when the light was coming in the window that's right here, I realized it would look really cool if the lighting in this picture matched it. I'm going to switch it so that it's coming from the right. So a few small adjustments is all it'll take to quickly fix that. And now is the time, because I haven't gotten too deep into doing the details on these objects. Okay, now I want to start thinking about this area. I've got my water coming down, I got this nice shadow in here, and I like that shadow. So I want to, I'm seeing a lot of glare where I am, so I have to move my head over to see that. But I think what I'm going to do is really define this shadow. You know, I don't know exactly how it's going to be. I just want to put a lot of black in there. I love black. And I'll even put some black in here. Just boom, just put it right in there like there's a little cave or something. And I'll worry about the details later. This is water right here. Before I get to that, I think what I'm going to do is reverse the lighting. See, I've got the lighting going this way on that. And reversing the lighting will also help that look like it's going away. It kind of looks like it's going the wrong direction right there anyway. So let me adjust this. Red, yellow, black, and white, just like the deer. Let's put the black on there. Get rid of some of that paint. I'm just going to paint over all that stuff. Then get some pure white. And see what happens if I just make some shapes going the direction of my light. Let's get a little more yellow. Put a little on this side because I know those colors don't really match. I'll have to adjust that. But I do like how that looks like it's going away to the left now. Let's grab some of this dark color down here and start just trying to blend this a little bit. Man, I like the way that looks. I'm afraid to touch it now. I'm just doing that technique where I drag over it kind of quick with the dry brush. And I'm going to let that dry because I really like the way that color came out. I'm just going to put that little bit of a gray edge. So that I don't ruin what I like, I'm going to mix it down here. and just put this across the top of this. Seems like a tiny little detail, doesn't it? For me though, really makes a difference. I just really like the way it looks. Now, I want plenty of black under here. Get some black. Just trying to blend that shadow in. Just lightly coming across that with the point, this long point of the brush, just lightly skimming across that line, because my paint was kind of heavy. I had to put it on heavy to get the darkness I wanted. Yeah, I don't always nail it the first time, you know. This is me playing with it until I like the way it looks. Now, I switched the direction of the light, so I'm going to put light, first of all, casting a hard shadow on this rock from this, so where this is further off the ground, I want to make sure I bring that shadow down. So I'm going to make the shadow pretty much where it is, just faintly right now, but make it more obvious. The way I'll do that is just by putting direct light on this rock. So, how about right here? That rock is, you know, we'll put a little bit of that orange color in there. Red, yellow, white. Maybe a touch of black. Alright, so it's going to come down this way. Maybe there's some little edges on this rock. I don't know. Let's just make some shapes. Pure white, just to brighten it up right there. Maybe there's some edges that are facing more directly upwards than others. There's Aiden. Waking up from his nap. I love that contrast. Okay, now that the light has switched direction, I'm going to bring it up closer into this. I made this crack in the rock. Now the light is shining right toward it. So I'm going to bring it right up into there. And then maybe here, I want to change the color because now there's more light hitting this. It's not facing away from the light anymore. So I'm going to use black, red, and white. That's a color I use a lot to make shadows. You know, where you can still see some light in it. On a earthy color like this, a grayish brown. If I want to make a shadow, I get kind of a violet color by doing black, red, and white. So it still has light, but not as much as those upward facing edges. So I'm putting it here where I have things facing sideways. Maybe to make things consistent, I'll put it up here. And then let's get some black. Do this crack again, but now we're fading it out to that color. There we go. Now I think it'd look good to have a darker shadow right here. Let's do the same thing, black, red, and white, but a lot more of the black, because this is that shadow of that log. Here we go. Now add just a little bit of white. See, so we have this crack continuing into the shadow. It always looks real nice if you can make some bit of detail continuing through a light part into a shadow and making it continue through it. It adds a real interesting realism to the picture. Let's go a little bit more black on that to find that little crevice in the rock a little better. Now I think that I just went too heavy on the red. A little bit goes a long way, so I'm going to add more black and white. Maybe I'll make maybe this upward facing edge will be a little bit lighter. All right, let's make this shadow coming down some more. This is that log shadow. Coming across again here, down again here. Then maybe might have to wait until this dries a little more to get this to be bright enough, but I want to put the bright highlights on the opposite side of this. What would be the far side of that rock? Let's get some pure white here, and again we're highlighting this edge. See, I'm brightening everything on the other side just like I did here. Just like I did, I'm kind of trying to match this color system right here where it goes the highlight, then the slightly darker color that's still lighter than the real dark shadow. Let's get some pure white and just put a little blast of it right there. Now I'm kind of thinking that it was better with just black and white on the shadow. Maybe scratch the red. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with just a plain gray instead of adding the red to it. We'll just chalk this up as one of those times that I was wrong. One of those many times. Oh man, little Zayden's in a cranky mood. I'm going to take this gray and add it to the back side of this, make this look like it's going into that shadow. Get some depth going there. And go back to the black and white here. I mean, that purple color didn't look bad. Just not like I wanted it to. I'm going to put highlights right across this big guy right here. So, again, I'll just mix a bright, real light orange and add a little black to it to make it kind of gray. Here's some black still on my wall. And then let's get some red right here. Right here. Then get some of this white. Alright, now I'm just going to make some random shapes. I'm not thinking too hard about this. Because things are going to take shape by accident, and I'm just going to run with it. Can you see Daddy paint? Let's put this up here. See Daddy painting? What is this?
Painting.
Painting. Painting. See, I have to make smaller and smaller shapes so they come this way because less and less of the light is rounding this rock. So I just make little bits, make it taper out. Let's get some pure white. Maybe brighten up some of these highlights here. Make that like the top of an edge. Do you like this painting, Zayden? What is that? What is that up there?
Bape.
Bape? Yeah. Deer. It's deer. Alright, let's get. We want to leave a few shadows in here too. It's kind of cool to not fill this whole thing up with highlights. Maybe just leave it like that. while I've got this color, I'll make a little bit in here too. Kind of fun. Oh, let me shut that door. Okay, let's get a little more of that pure white. And where did I want to put that? I wanted to put some right in here. Really define this shadow. Now, this area for now, I'll just kind of fill up with some shadow colors, get it ready to do my water. And this area too, you know, this area is right here. I'll just blend that in again. I used yellow with the black to get that color, so just got a little bit of yellow. Let's put some black here. Put some shadow down there, like this water's cascading down to a dark area there. Then I just want to try to blend it into what's already there. That's the sound it makes when it falls. I want to take a little bit of that highlight, add a little orange to my gray. I just like the way that defines that shadow coming down. All right. Maybe put another couple rocks just barely showing in this shadow. Okay, so now here's going to be a big shadow. Let's just put a lot of dark paint on there. Black. And I'm not going to think a lot about what shapes I want in there. I'm going to see what happens without doing it on purpose. Probably more red than I need. Just mix it around. Sometimes I massage it into place like that, you know, that motion. Just slowly squishing an edge up to where I want it. Okay. Let's put a little more yellow on here. We got a lot of red. See, now that's a good area to put a highlight where the color didn't mix as much. Maybe not quite as much red will be good, but I always look for the most colorful spot if I want to put a highlight. Just put some horizontal shapes in there. Of course, this highlight is not as bright as the others. I'm starting to make things altogether darker as they come down this way. Let's put some pure black here to match this right there. Sometimes it helps me build shapes if I just do that over what I've got. Softens everything, so leaves a little more to the imagination. Then when it's blurry, you say, oh, you know what it kind of looks like. When it's a sharp, crisp edge, sometimes all you see is a paintbrush stroke. But when you blur things, it becomes all kinds of stuff. See, I'm just going with the shapes I see. I kind of saw an edge there, so messed with it, trying to see if I can turn it into something. Now, these look like pretty different color schemes. Looks like I got two different rock things going on, so I'm going to try to match them up a little better. That needs some more yellow. We'll take some more of that yellow color, and then we'll put it up in here. Take some of this color, put it here. See how I turned my brush the other way, started making down strokes? You know, if my brush were like a chisel, that's kind of how I imagine it being. It's like I'm cutting edges off this rock. I'm just going to keep grabbing color from this spot because I like the color of it. Alright, then I'll start doing the water, so I'll mess with the water next week. Here's Angel telling me the family's home. Time to stop for the day. This will be the water right here. A nice dark reflection in there to start out with. Okay, let's take a look at some comments. Now, what you see behind me is I'm on the set of a new color theory video that I'm working on. Much like the last one I made, but I'm just trying to do a better job and give more thorough and concise explanations. It seems like I can never put out enough information on this subject, and it's very important to me to do a good job of it. So I'm working on it, just to let you know, and I'll be excited to let you know all about it when I'm done. Mindy Hortzman says, I'm glad I'm not the only one who sticks their hand on part of the wet paint. Like your videos. Thank you very much, Mindy. Acacia Rogers Art. Gorgeous, darling. Love when you paint animal subjects in your scenes. You certainly teach me so much about the rules of light and color, and I feel I'm improving because of that. Love from New Hampshire. Can't wait to see more. Well, thank you very much for tuning in all the way from New Hampshire. I wonder what the weather's like up there. It's getting cold around here. That's always very encouraging to me to hear that my research is helping somebody else out. I get a big thrill out of that. A lot more than just showing off my paintings. You know, I would be okay with having just mediocre paintings that weren't that great if I still knew that people were feeling good about that my research was helping. So that's number one for me. That's where I get my biggest thrills. So thank you for taking the time to let me know. Patricia Orozco says, about the universe, please don't make us wait long. You know, out of context, that's a strange sounding comment. Sounds like something off of a movie. I've been asked about that subject a lot. I do need to do a video. It's hard for me to get to all the different things that get requested, but I do want to do that. I do want to do that content for sure. Here's a good question. Mac Nicholson says, do you ever use the golden ratio in your painting compositions? It's a difficult thing for me to intentionally apply the golden ratio. There's so much that I still don't understand about why that exists. Now, I can just see all the comments streaming in right now explaining the golden ratio. I mean, go ahead, but I probably unintentionally have the golden ratio in the picture when the picture ends up looking good, the composition ends up looking good. A lot of the time I do it by simpler methods that I understand better. And for those of you wondering what the golden ratio is, well, if you take let's just say a length that is a unit of 1, and then you multiply that by 0.618, and then you put that segment right here next to it so that it's getting shorter. Then you take that segment and multiply it by 0.618. That's an approximate number. Then so you're getting smaller as you go down that line. If you go the other way on that, then it just so happens that each of those are being multiplied by 1.618 to go the other way. Very interesting, and when you rearrange it in the form of rectangles and things, you see it all over a person's body. Very cool concept, and I definitely think it's true that it's attractive and has natural beauty and is all over nature. Man, I avoid it in my videos because I'm still confounded by why it exists. I gotta figure out why that even exists. Felice Splash says, hey Joe, thank you so much. You're helping me a lot. Thank you for saying that. How do you paint blurred backgrounds? I need to know, God bless. Just like I did on this last portion of Zoe's mural, what I do most of the time is to blur a background intentionally. I'll use somewhat loose technique, just like I did on those rocks down low, just like I did on that log coming across that little stream, where I did the detail, but then I dry the brush out on the wall or on some other surface, maybe on a towel, because that water-based paint will get dry on the very tips of the bristle. Since it's water-based, it dries quickly on just the little ends, so that if I just do a few strokes on a dry wall or any kind of scrap material, and then quickly and lightly skim across the surface that I just painted, especially if that paint is starting to get tacky. You know, when you first put it on, it's more watery. Being sensitive to the timing can really help with that. But you can see that I just go, I do it with clouds all the time. If you watch a lot of my videos, I use that technique a lot. So I'll just put color on, loose technique, and then I'll have some hard edges in there, and I'll just, you know, skim over those real quick with the brush to blur them out. So that is a valuable thing to use in paintings, because you can add a lot of depth to a picture by making a crisp foreground image and blurring out the background. I do use that all the time, especially if you're painting, you know, like a tree with lots of branches and leaves and foliage, like I will be doing in this. I might obscure the background with that exact technique and then do real crisp lines for branches in the foreground or leaves. Sharon Damish, so maybe you can tell me if I'm saying that name right. Joe, something you said really struck a chord with me. Accuracy is not as important as believability. Thank you for noticing that. You know, I was wondering if that would matter to anybody, but that's something that's really changed my mindset during painting. And Sharon says, from Chicago, go Cubs! So thanks for that shout out from Chicago. It's been so liberating, just like you say, to know that if I can imagine something, there's a way to sell it. Now when I sell it, I mean put it in the picture in a way that causes the viewer to see it as something natural. It's a lot of the time we have things in our imagination that we would like to put in a painting, but just not knowing how to apply rules of nature and light to that thing that we're imagining might make you think, when you put it on the camera, oh, that was a bad idea, that doesn't look good at all, when really maybe just knowing how to apply natural lighting and some simple rules of nature to that idea is all it needs. So anything can happen. I mean, we all have the things in our mind that seem unbelievable until then one day you see it, and then it's no longer miraculous. It's just a thing that you've seen. It happens. You know, it's amazing how quickly something goes from the great unknown and miraculous to the ordinary just because you saw it and it happened. So believability is definitely more valuable than accuracy. Andrew Pavlik is saying hi from right here in Flagstaff. Thanks for tuning in, Andrew. You know, I think I probably have less people that know about me here in my own town than across the country. So this is fun. So we're gonna have to get together, Andrew. But he says, I'm a young artist that lives in Flag and would love to know if there are any local murals of yours I could see in person. Great work and very inspiring to watch. Keep it up. Thank you for that nice compliment. And local murals, I did one at the hardware store that is now Homeco, that was Ace. And you know, you go right out of the exit door, it's up high. Now when I noticed this, I was real excited when I did that mural, thinking everybody's gonna see this. When people go to hardware stores, it's because there's a problem. And when there's a problem, they're looking down at whatever they're buying. Is this going to work? Is this going to solve my problem? And they're out the door without even looking up. That thing's been there for years, and I hardly ever hear about it. And I was so proud when I did it. There's another one at the hospital. Hopefully you don't go to the hospital and end up looking at that one for too long. There's a big lumberjack mural on LaRue, right in the downtown area, just north of Collins Irish Pub. But this information is not so fun to hear for the rest of you that are not in Flagstaff, so I'm going to move on. But thank you, Andrew. I actually don't have a lot of murals in my own town, in public places. I realized after doing one of them that it's a lot to maintenance, and you don't want one of your pieces getting real dilapidated in front of everybody. So my goal has not been to do a lot more of them. You know, I'd rather try to go back and do a good job of the upkeep on the murals I've already painted. And then another thing with doing them in public places is 5 years later, when you really feel like you could do a much better job, you're looking back at it thinking, I can't change it now because it's public. It's become, you know, this thing that everybody's used to. You just can't go back and edit. But you know, when you paint in bedrooms, in residentials, then eventually they get painted over, and you always have a fresh start to represent yourself the way you want to be. That's more current. So you know, if I had my choice, I would always be doing the murals in kids' rooms in residentials. Terry asks, do I use the same kind of acrylic paints on a porous wall? Good question. Thank you, Terry, for the kind words. And I do use the same kind of paint I just tend to water it down if I really need to get it in some deeper texture. You know, I have a technique for getting into deeper texture where I just, a lighter touch, and I think I did that a little bit on this last one where you try to leave the bristles more extended on the brush. And you know, a tendency on a real porous texture, especially if it's like cinder block with big pores, is to really use pressure and jam your brush into there when actually if you lighten up the pressure and keep the brush loaded, the extension of the bristles goes in those pockets a lot better. So it's just the opposite, that lighter touch and just kind of massaging it into that. But you know, the bonding of paint is on more of a molecular level, so whether it's porous or non-porous doesn't really change the kind of paint that I would choose to use. Really the things that would change the kind of paint that I use would be, is it vinyl, which is very hard to get acrylic paint to stick to, or is it wood, things that are very different. On, like I said, a molecular level is going to, you know, determine whether I need to get a bonding primer. If you ever have a surface that you're unsure of, just get a good bonding primer. I just tried one that my buddy Vince Ross in Florida told me about, Stix, S-T-I-X primer, and it worked great. I used it to paint a set of cabinets in my new house. Primers are real valuable for those kind of things. Okay, so I'm on the video How to Paint a Forest Mural Part 1. D. Meista says, greetings from Sydney, Australia. I'm an avid student of your videos and advice. Can you check out my YouTube channel? Any advice and criticism would be greatly appreciated. Keep up the good work. Thank you for that shout out from Sydney. Man, I would love to go to Australia someday. That would be so fun. I wish I would have had the nerve to go in front of other people when I was younger and first starting out and say, look at my work and tell me where you think I can improve. This is a great thing to be able to do. I hate criticizing work because so much of the time it's holding a painting to a standard that is an individual standard, saying it ought to be like this or it ought to be like that, when it's up to the artist what it ought to be like. But let me come from this perspective. Having said that, you're definitely talented. You obviously have some fantastic ability. I saw a great painting of a soccer player and a painting of a lion, and you're very good at working from photos. So I think that if you experiment with higher contrast, you might be very pleased with the results that it can add to your pictures. So you already are very good at painting from photos. You might try adding something that's not in the photo as far as light and shadow. Contrast is intimidating. When you take a shadow and make it really dark, I noticed that there's a lot of room for you to have darker shadows. And it's intimidating because, you know, a lot of us have the experience of putting a color on, whoa, it's just a big blob of black on my picture and it doesn't blend in. Well, the key to making those shadows look great is that little area of color in between the shadow and the light. You know, that's where the color happens. You see this higher exposure level making a more pale, whiter color right on my big old round nose here. But then here around the edges where it starts to blend into the shadow, that's where the color is. That's where all the red is. So that can really help you with shadows. You want color in the shadow itself, like in my eye. That's a very brown color. It's not just gray. But regardless of the color that shadow is, if I have color right in between that shadow and the light, it doesn't matter if it's in the photo, it'll look nice. It's the transitionary color, and with paint, if you just mix a shadow with the light, if I just took this color and mixed it with this color, then I would get too gray of a result. So I always add the orange or the red or whatever color in there. Just a tip. I think that you might really like the results if you experiment with those things. And you can see me doing a lot more of that with fur on my How to Paint Fur video, where I'm painting some lions in a kid's bedroom. I'm going to stop right there. I'll be eager to post a video next week and see what you guys have to say. So thank you for tuning in again, and we'll see you next time.